Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Knock, knock.
Very good, Zoran.
Hi, how are you doing, guys? Good to see
Very
you.
good.
Hello.
René, sound check, good. Nicolas?
Sound check.
Good.
Sound check. Everyone's good.
Perfect. Excellent.
Wine check.
Oh,
Macaroni check.
Gin and tonic check.
I did the coffee check.
I have the tea
I'm
check.
in Brazil, we have good coffee.
Yeah, it's early.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Nicolas, you have a water check, right?
Yes, correct.
All right.
Do you see I have a very quirky lamp in the background? It's a hidden rabbit, which is brand new from today. Do you think that's too quirky for the crowd, or is that great?
I think
it's
it's
nice.
great. It's
Good.
It's half naked, or what is it?
It is, yeah.
It's really cool.
It's covering the important part, which is the mask. So the rest
True.
doesn't matter. Very current.
True.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, people are flying in still, but it is 5:01, so we are going to start. Yeah, this is a really very emotional moment, I have to say, because we have the loop community together in this very different way here. It's very emotional because we have hundreds of loopers here, buyers and suppliers, and also new loop friends that we have created now. And we are extremely proud, very emotional, because this is, of course, different than our loops, and we have the entire community together. If you would see who is in there, you would not believe it. And I want to say, hello, loopers. This is amazing that you're here. Thanks for tuning in for the next hour. We have really an amazing panel, amazing friends here on the talk today. And yeah, we have started with Loop Faces, the industry talk 2 weeks ago in German language, because our German travel trade buyers, of course, all the other CE, etc., are very important to us, but we wanted to test it. And we had an emotional a very, very great feedback from everyone to continue doing this. And now today we're going international, and this is amazing. Yes, and who would have thought that last year in autumn, when we started to develop Loop Online, that we would need it so urgently like we do today. So we are going to launch Loop Online actually this week. So it's going to take and kick off mid of June, because we want you, everybody here listening today, also be able to talk with each other, to network with each other, and to get back and talk, but also, of course, also as important, to start getting into business again, because we need to overcome this crisis of financial deficits, etc. And we are here for you to speed this up with Loop Online. So we will be doing this ongoing as you guys open your countries, so we can be here for you when you need us, so you can get together. And this is really important, because we need to get out of this as good as possible. Well, now I'm gonna introduce this wonderful, wonderful crowd. I'm gonna start with Zoran. Zoran is representing today the individual hotels, actually as an individual hotel entrepreneur. I met you 2 years ago because you heard about a Loop and you were curious and you came as a visitor to Loop Tirol. So we were as an observer, and you really liked it. And since then, you have been joining us actually for all the loops. Zoran is as a hotelier, entrepreneur, public speaker, opinion writer, and a world traveler. He's currently based in Croatia, and he traveled all oceans, expanded his network truly international. And you are a developer of boutique resorts within the Mediterranean, and you were brave enough to open a new boutique hotel and resort in July this year. Very brave. It's called Maslina, 50 rooms, amazing property on the island of Hava. Welcome, Zoran. We're going to hear more about your philosophy and what keeps you going and why you're so strong doing this now.
Thank you, Astrid. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Tina, she came all the way from Sao Paulo today to join us here. It's a great pleasure to have you. Tina and I were also friends for many years. We've been working a lot of trade shows, and we do inspire each other a lot, I think. There's a lot of, you're so energetic, and which is great. Yeah, and Tina has an impressive career in the luxury world, hotel world. She throughout with all kinds of great brands. And in 2012, you opened your own representation and sales and PR company, starting with the Brazilian market and expanded over the years, and now manages offices in Buenos Aires, in Argentina, in Santiago, in Chile, in Mexico. You opened in 2017. And last but not least, you opened in New York and Los Angeles. Thanks for being here, Tina. You are full of energy and lots of great mindset, and I'm happy to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Nicolas, he is a dedicated hotelier with over 20 years of experience, following a career in various luxury companies as well. And before you found your love with the Amman projects and resorts, and you traveled the world as a specialist in pre-opening with Amman resorts. You were part of the pre-opening team of Amman Summer Palace in Beijing, Amman Kiri in Utah, successfully opened Amman Nayani in China in February 2015 as GM. And then you returned to Amanjena as GM in November 2015 after a great refurbishment. And actually now since February, you're sitting on packed suitcases with your family, and you're rearing to go on and take over, but you can't travel because you're supposed to take over Amman Puri, the flagship of Amman in Phuket. Yeah, so you're sitting on your suitcases, and we'd love to hear to you, talk to you as well about what's going on and where we're going to. Thank you. Nicolas, welcome.
Thank you very much, Astrid. Great to be here.
Thank you. And last but not least, René, the Passionist. René has a Master of Performing Arts, so it means he learned acting and singing from scratch. It was not until 2013 that René joined the travel industry and made his passion into a profession. With this, in relatively short time, he achieved international recognition as a coach, facilitator, trainer in the hospitality industry, and also as a travel designer. What a lovely combination. So he was very brave, beginning of this year, buying a very well-established high-end travel agency in Cologne, buying it, great, and then Corona came. So, but you did this because you really would put your action, you would like to put into action what you teach and what you live. So we want to hear all about that. How is that to make such an investment in these times? Well, let's go. Tina. Yeah, thank you, René. Tina, I would like to ask you, you were one of the first ones coming out with the luxury panels in the world. I mean, for luxury industry, I was watching you and I thought, my God, she's coming out of the dark. You were trying it, and you had really always an amazing crowd. I was listening to every session, and you had some really high-powered industry talks for the last weeks. I would like to ask, in your opinion, what is the impact in the current situation on the luxury traveler from South and North America, or respectively your region? What would you like to share with us, what you learned in the last couple of weeks?
So firstly, Astrid, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of the panel, to be part of the Loopers. It's an honor. Your initiatives and your trade show are known worldwide. I haven't been to Loop, but I will. It's on my top list now. When the world starts spinning again, I will. I can't wait to experience it. So thank you again for the invite. So yes, we started right off the bat with the TL talks, and the reason we did that was I noticed, every country went in to face this situation at a different time. For me, it was right at the beginning of March that I realized that things were going to really become complicated. And as I started to approach our partners and our friends and just industry leaders, I realized that even people who were naturally, very aggressive and communicative and were very down. There was a heavy feeling in the industry, and obviously globally, but very much so in our industry. And I thought back and I said, wow, one of the reasons for this is there's no positive channel. There's nowhere that people can really have news, which is based on research and on information and everything, but giving us a positive light. And so that's why the TL Talks already existed on a physical format. We brought them to a virtual format. And I really wanted to bring people who had that global view and so forth. It was, you know, Ellen Asmadeo, Executive Vice President of Afar New York, she was told me, she was like, Tina, if you're equipped with information and research and experience, then being positive is not being naive. And I think that's a very important message to take home, you know. Doesn't mean that being positive, being naive, as long as you're equipped with information. And one of the things that I've realized, so for those that are new to this, our TL Talks take place every Friday in the afternoon at 3 o'clock Brazil time, 2 o'clock New York time, 7 o'clock London time. You can get more information on them on our Instagram, which is at TL Portfolio, or on our YouTube channels. They're all saved there. So if you missed them, you can go there and watch it. But one of the things that I took out from the Latin America market, or the North America, or in general, is that people all face the situation of COVID-19 at different moments, and they go through the phases in different lengths of time. You know, so it's interesting looking at the Americas. Usually, historically, the US is very far ahead of us in Latin America in business, in thinking, in concepts. You know, we're always looking towards them for the next step. And it's been interesting to see that maybe because Latins are more accustomed to, you know, viruses and crises and political issues, and, you know, our lives are a roller coaster. I'm seeing that people are a lot more resilient. So the Latin Americans are almost, and I'm putting them in a pack, which I know we shouldn't, but otherwise it'll take me forever to dissect Latin America. We're much more eager and ready to look at travel. So we've been looking, you know, we were talking in our conversations earlier that, you know, some Europe and Asia are seeing bookings coming up 1 or 2 or 3, you know, really excited. I was looking at our numbers. Since end of March, we've had 56 bookings already. So it's a lot of bookings coming for all different destinations, from Latin America to Europe to Asia, within Latin America. And this is just because it's a market that is more prone to take a step forward, and then they're very flexible to take it back and reschedule. And so they're very happy with this flexible cancellation. And I think that's one of the biggest things. And I think the message to everybody is, when you communicate, find out and be open to understanding what phase your audience is in, because not everybody is going through this at the same speed. And so if you're speaking to somebody that is still at a moment of confusion, you know, then you have to speak about empathy. If you are speaking to somebody that's already moving out of the confusion and they really want honesty and transparency, and taking them through the process of how things are moving forward, and eventually you'll get those that are like me in the growth phase, that are just wanting to do and book and grow and, you know, revolutionize. And so you have to really know who you're speaking to and adjust your message. So before you could have one message and blast it out, and now you have to be very cautious about adjusting to who you're speaking. So I think that's an important message.
Absolutely. Thanks. Nicolas, you're sitting on packed suitcases, as we said, and you are about to move to Amapuri, to Phuket, to Thailand. I heard and I read and etc. You mastered many difficult situations because you lived in 6 different countries. You had military coups in your country, where you had hotels, natural disasters like tsunami, lots of things. Well, what does this crisis mean different for you now? Is there a difference for you? How do you see this?
Yeah, for sure. You're absolutely right. My suitcases have been packed for a little while, but you know, you learn to be patient. And I think whenever there is a crisis, there's always something that you can learn. And for sure, one of the most key points that you need to learn out of this crisis is to be very resilient, which Tina touched upon, and knowing your audience and so on and so forth. From the previous crises that I had, they were very much country specific, where I think we all understand the severity of this crisis being a global pandemic, and especially the speed that it went through. That's all took us by surprise and by a shock. So I think at the end of the day, what makes the difference in many variables that we have to do, we have to listen to in terms of the government has a big role to play in how we will rebound. The airline industry, I think all eyes are on the airline industry because that's the bloodline on how we will revive our industry in the tourism sector. So there's many variables. I think we also need to read between the lines and not just be caught on one-sided of the news. And it's not all doom and gloom. I think every crisis that we've been through, and I think on this panel and everyone that's listening into this, I think we've all been in the industry long enough to have gone through at least one crisis in our lifetime. And what happens after a crisis? Things go back to normal. Unfortunately, this crisis will for sure bring a new normal. So we need to adapt and make the most of this crisis, that's for sure, and prepare. And those we spoke earlier with the panel, and those who are eagerly looking for reopening, there is an appetite for the luxury market and things will come back to normal. I just spoke to my colleague in property in the US, which they are happily enough reopening next week. They're fully booked. So fully booked, and once you take away something from someone, they're even more determined to come back and book the results. So yeah, it's a different crisis, but I think nevertheless still the same in another way. So.
Okay, thank you. Zoran, you are in Croatia at the moment. You are developing resource in the Mediterranean. Your management company is called Paradox. What, as an individual hotelier, not being under the umbrella of a nice brand or so, what is your advice you give to fellow hoteliers how to overcome these current obstacles in terms of other hoteliers here in the audience or in general? What would your advice be now?
It's a huge question, and I will probably not do it. I will not do it a justice in answering in just a couple of minutes. But I will just touch base on something that Nicolas and Tina already started mentioning, and that we are all feeling. This is a global crisis, and we like to say that we are all in this together. However, we were all in this together going down. We will not be going up together. Some destinations will not recover at all. So the recovery will be very destination specific and hotel specific. And so a lot of things that we've seen happening simultaneously or at a little bit different speeds for different countries will now be becoming again very individualized. So especially for independent hoteliers, as opposed to those who are belonging to chains who will get a lot of support perhaps from their headquarters, we need to look a bit more specific and to see our country reputation, for example. How did your country go through the crisis, and how are people perceiving your country after the crisis? Because prior to this, you could live as a destination resort on your own, even if your country didn't have a good reputation. But if you had an amazing property, and I mean, there is no better proof than that, than many Aman resorts, which existed in many places that otherwise people would never travel to. But they were destination resorts, and they eventually changed those entire destinations. Right now, people will be looking again first at the country and then deciding within the country places to go. And they might not be deciding between Maslina Resort and Amanjena. They might decide, I'm going to go to Croatia or I'm going to go to Morocco because of the reputation that the country has. Then that's first one that I would look at. We are talking about those things that we can observe from the outside. Secondly, I would definitely look back at the health and safety standards that the countries are imposing on you. And these are, again, very individual. We don't have a global unique response. I mean, yes, the global hotel companies are putting forward a lot of initiatives, but they will have to follow the instructions put forward by the local governments. And then you will have to see how much investment actually is required based on these local regulations, whether you actually have to separate people by a meter or meter and a half or 2 meters. I mean, this might make a huge world of difference for your property based on how spacious your restaurants and bars are, and in all other areas, and how you're going to organize your check-ins and check-outs and everything. So I guess the these local regulations will be very important, and I don't expect them to become standardized anytime soon. Every single government, same like the responses were not the same, I don't expect that these health and safety standards will be same either. And then the clarity of those instructions is very important. Sometimes they come, you know, you can hear in an hour 3 different explanations of the same instruction. That can be very, very confusing for us who are trying to put together a package of new SOPs, new standard operating procedures for the staff to follow, and then for the guests to still enjoy themselves. And then thirdly, to not take too much time, and just stop me whenever you feel like I'm talking too much. I think you have to look at the level of interventionism, and this is something that Nicolas already mentioned. What are the individual governments doing in terms of interventions? I'm personally always opposing big government interventionism, but here governments told us do not work. We were supposed to stop operating. So that was the first of interventionism that we couldn't prevent. So right now they are doing things to restart it. And how are they going to, what are they going to do to attract the airline, for example, airline industry to start flying to your destinations? So these are all the outside factors that you need to take stock of. And before that, I guess you already have taken an inventory of your internal situation. You know, you understand your cash flow and the strength of your team, and you've maintained your communication and visibility. All of these things were already in place. I'm just talking about the outside factors that you've taken stock of, so that you can move forward. Yeah.
Well, we can just hope by the time the standards are all set, this entire thing is over and all gone. That would be the best, and we don't have to continue. It sounds like the travel agent is needed more than ever in these situations. And René, you as a trained singer and actor, you have come into the luxury travel world from a completely different angle. The name of your company is The Passionist, reveals a different approach to luxury travel. What makes The Passionist? What makes The Passionist? And can you enlighten us how you hook your clients to work with you also now in difficult times?
First of all, thank you, Astrid, very much for being in that panel with that great industry peers. So that's great to see you all here. And you know what Tina said at the beginning, that we have to adjust our message. I couldn't agree anymore, because watching here, listening to what everyone says and seeing the chat, how many loopers, how many of our industry friends are around. This is the magic of the moment, what we all need. And so I'm very grateful to be here. And yes, I'm coming from a different angle probably in the industry, but what still is one of the most intense moment is that passion never ends, and passion now is more important than ever. And I mean, being a travel agent in these times and to inspire people to travel is a bigger challenge, because many people are probably very uncertain, very conscious. They just are feared and worried of what is going on and how they will travel. So in this moment, we try to connect with our clients on a very, I would say, different level of communication. We are trying to be as creative as possible to interconnect. This, to be even micro-personalized in communication, is what we try to every possible channel. And we use not only emails, it's just that the base of what human communication is empathy, is actually to be in there together and to overcome this together. So this act of kindness, this act of communication and getting together is actually what me and my team, we are doing every day. And we are even creating little spaces which are not necessarily, and there's where my background probably helps me, that I come from such a creative background, that we sit together and everyone is feeling like in a creativity pool. And we added some stuff that some of my team members, they love to be in the garden and to do hands-on activities. So we created a little brand called the Passionist Farm Stall. So we are doing a bit of homemade jams, chutneys, and we interconnect via this with our clients to present, to actually inspire them that we are all alike. We are in communication. We want to inspire them and encourage them actually to be ready to travel again. Because what is going around in the media, and I think especially here in our environment, is that we are listening to the media every day, which is very negative news. It's making people even more worried of what is going on. Politicians are not helping us. It's a moment where we can just turn it around. We can actually do the opposite and encourage people to stay close to their agents, to listen to, you know, we have that dream now, travel later, but we can dream now and plan now and get into that process of looking very positively in the future. This is how we hook up, even with people we never met before. So we do that, as I said, on different communication levels. And that's, in my opinion, the moment to really connect with everyone who is around you and to spread positivity.
Perfect. Thank you, René. Tina, you are a communication expert, obviously, with your sales, PR representation. You are connecting people all the time. What would you recommend to our listeners on how best to approach the luxury travel and media during these challenging times? You already mentioned we are in different waves, but is there anything else you would like to share with us?
Yes, firstly, I echo everything you told me to you. You are the communication expert, Astrid, so we bounce each other the energy and ideas. So again, everything you said to me goes right back to you. So I think the key message right now is twofold and very simple and straightforward. And it is connect, 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 which is what René was saying, and communicate, communicate, communicate. And what that means is don't be afraid to say the wrong thing. You know, I've been speaking to a lot of our clients, hoteliers, agents, DMCs, and a lot of them are feeling concerned to say the wrong thing, so they're not saying anything. And I think that, you know, there's that, you know, that image that you can't, and Brazilians are very into soccer. So you can't make a goal unless you kick the ball, right? So if you don't kick the ball, it's guaranteed you're not going to make a goal. So you have to kick, right? So otherwise you're not in the game. So kicking means going out there and start to communicate. And you can be, you know, transparency and honesty is the most valuable asset we all have. And being unsure, being a little hesitant, being a little scared is all fantastic, because it'll bond you with your client, with your partners, because you're feeling the same way. So communicating does not mean you have to know everything. That's not what it's about. It's about opening yourself up to say, look, this is what we're doing, and we hope it's the right thing. We want to be here for you, and you know, let us know if we can help, and just letting, you know, stretching out a hand. I think that's a very important message. There is an opportunity for us to help each other. And this is, I think, also, if you're a company that already bonded with your clients and those clients are close to you, then take advantage of it, you know, connect with them. If you're a company that you're a bigger hotel or a bigger agency and you were dealing with volume and therefore you didn't have that connection, this is your time. Make the best of now. Start connecting, start reaching out, because that's what's going to be your key asset going forward. So make the most of now. You know, this is not the time. And again, apparently there are people, you know, enjoying facials and massages and relaxing and reading books. They're not part of my tribe. My tribe is like completely madness and working harder than ever, as Astrid. But there's a lot to do right now, you know, and it's not so much about cleaning databases. I mean, that's nice, but this is the time to reach out and connect. And at the end of the day, and you know, my husband owns a travel agency that's very focused on a very niche luxury market. And at the end of the day, it's about trust. That's going to be also the key word in the future. And there's no doubt about it. So if you're a hotelier or if you're an agent, at the end of the day, once the airports open, once the world starts to spin again, as I said, because it now feels that it's not spinning, you know, of course, you're going to look at the news. But if your client says, I want to go to Greece or I want to go to Mexico, and you know Zachary from Journey Mexico, you're going to call Zachary. You're going to say, Zachary, I hear this on the news, but what's the real deal? You know, if you want to go to Africa, you're going to have that partner that you're going to call and say, what's going on? And it's about those trust. It's about those people and those connections. And despite all the news, because we get so much of it that we don't even know what's true, we're going to have those people that you trust at the other side. And the same thing for the agents. You know, the client is going to want to go to Italy, and if you like whatever hotel if you sell Lungarno, or if you work with whatever hotel it is, you're going to call Carolyn or Federica and say, hey, tell me the real deal. Can I sell them? Are you open? Is it safe? That's the situation. And I think at the end of the day, knowing Nicolas in Marrakesh, you're going to call him and say, and you're going to deliver your client to him, and that's, I think, the key of the relationship right now. And that's a lot of work, that's a lot of work. Absolutely. But the beautiful thing is we are in a people industry. That's what we've nurtured. That's what we're about. So if we were in a banking industry, we would be hating each other, or lawyers, thank God we're not. We're in an industry that's about people. It's about connections. It's about friends. We've been nurturing this for years. And now it's when we're going to cash in our relationships and say, buddy, I need you. Like, can I hand you my guest? And that relationship has to be strong enough to say, you know what, not yet. We need a little bit longer, and that's so important. So we're very lucky to be in the travel industry. This is the best industry to be, because we are based on relationships and trust. And that's what's going to keep us going. And there's no doubt travel will come back, because travel is part of the human DNA. We're nomads. We like to go, and we're going to go as soon as they let us.
And that's why we are all still here. Everybody is still here. These people who love and are passionate about it, we are hanging in there like monkeys. We're not letting go, because it's absolutely true. Nicolas, you are moving to Thailand. You have worked in Thailand before, and you are very confident with the country, with the property. I think you're gonna open soon. Would you like to share with us why the philosophy of Aman Resorts is helpful during these difficult times now, especially when we were talking about trust and what Tina said, and how you're going? What is the sharing for us here?
Yeah, thank you, Astrid. I think Tina's touching on a lot of points, and I think one of the key points as well is to be very authentic, and authenticity has a lot to do with it. And Aman, it's part of the true DNA of what Aman is. I think the philosophy is, we're very guest-centric. We focus on guests, and I think that brings trust within the guests. But also the DNA is about generosity of space. We have a very low room count in most of our properties. And as Zoran mentioned earlier, we are a destination within the destination. A lot of guests want to stay in our resorts because they know what they're getting for. And that's, I think, the key component. Trust is another thing. They are staying in our property because we are known for the service, for the level of service that we provide, for the privacy that we provide, the authenticity. So I think there's a lot of silver linings in the things that this COVID situation is bringing us. But I think for Aman, we are really well positioned, because there will be a higher demand for this seclusion, for this sanctuary that we bring. A lot of our names of our properties, as Aman means peace in Sanskrit. Amanjena means peaceful paradise. And that, I think, speaks volumes, and that's everything that we do. It's how we approach it. And Amanpuri, place of peace. We opened that resort 32 years ago, and it's still successful. It's one of our flagship hotels. And you're right, Thailand is also very resilient. You've had tsunamis, you've had military coups, you've had, it's just always astonishing to see a destination like Thailand always be able to rebound time and time again. Although I think this rebound will be slow, I think there will be a lot of guests who will be taking longer stays. Instead of going into one destination and taking several flights, they most likely will stay in your resort and stay longer. And I think Zoran and I, we touched upon it over the weekend. He feels the same. Zoran says that he has bookings that are coming in for the opening in July and August. The tendency is the length of stay is quite long. So I really truly believe that Aman is really well positioned moving forward. And I think there will be a lot to say with a lot of the other companies who are always generous hosts and very guest-centric. Those are the companies who will do very well, and touching upon communicating to them in any way possible. Yeah.
Definitely. It's going to be tough for those who didn't do their homework before, right? In terms of client relationships and so on, definitely. Zoran, you are opening in July. That's what you're planning. Croatia is in the research and the news we read, at least in German-speaking markets, amongst the top destinations to receive clients, the first leisure clients. And I've seen you're working on this project Maslina now since 3 years. I've seen you around in all the markets in the entire world. You really started very early, and that's amazing, amazing job. I would like to know, in terms of the distribution channels that you're building up for Maslina, has anything changed now since now during COVID or now this crisis? Has your marketing strategy changed, or how do you see, how are you adapting to this now in terms of making this a successful opening in the middle of the season with a brand new property? I mean, I don't want to talk about the rest. So how do you see that? I know you seem positive, but how?
Yeah, I believe that we were very well positioned with our philosophy even before the coronavirus pandemics stopped the world. We built our DNA around a philosophy we call mindful luxury, which kind of stems down from a bit wider philosophy we call responsible hospitality. And having that position where we try to put together set of guidelines for our team, but then also for the guests, and in a way to make sure that both the community and the local nature are respected. We are seeing that the adjustments that we're going to have to make in terms of products and processes are very small. So we are talking minor adjustments. And we should be ready once we open to position our product as that high-end luxury product. However, what you said about the marketing, there are changes there, and we are adapting. We are not changing our story. We are just tweaking it in order to fit with what is now prevailing set of emotions. So if prior to the crisis, it was all about promotion emotions, you know, about excitement, about recognition, about delight, about satisfaction, it is all normal that people are a little bit more now concerned with risk reduction, with the absence of problems, with the absence of discomfort. So we are obviously now promoting a little bit more location than we would be otherwise, you know, because we have this amazing island, which is, we now saying it's, you know, remote yet so accessible. It's in the middle of Europe, 2 hours flight from any major European port, whereas we are still on an island which is quite low in density of population and only 1 hour away from the mainland by a speedboat. And we're going to be offering our own speedboat transfers for the guests directly from the airport to the property. So really, like, as we were mapping our guest journey, you know, really looking to reduce all those points that could cause discomfort for the guests. And we were already getting ready to do all those things anyway, and they are now coming really in place perfectly. So secondly, we are pushing really a little bit more message about the family and family travel than we were intending to promote earlier on. And the reason is that, as Nicolas touched already, is people will be looking to travel long-term, and they will be looking to travel, and especially for us, the German-speaking market is going to be a lot of travel by car. You know, so you can travel from Graz to Split 4.5 hours by car. Munich to Split is 8 hours by car. And then if people are traveling by car, they tend to travel as a family, you know, 3-4 people. And then if they travel and make all that trip, they will be looking to stay perhaps a week or 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks. People are talking a whole month. People are talking about relocating for work for a month or two. So, and then thirdly, our biggest message that we wanted to promote earlier is still there. That's the message of well-being, and that's a core segment of our mindful luxury promise, and this whole wellness aspect that is not just in the spa and wellness, but it's kind of throughout the entire property, including our organic garden and all of our activities. So first, we want to ensure that people know that their prevention emotions are satisfied, and then we're going to move on to the onto the promotion emotions. So I think if the colleagues are out there looking to understand how to structure their messages, I think this could be helpful. You know, this could be helpful just to, and I agree with Tina, we need to send out the positivity, but we also need to be very true and factual about what we can promise. And, you know, really to understand what it is, how we're going to go about it, and then to promote it, and then build on that strong foundation of prevention, of health and safety. For example, we are introducing a new position in our property called health and safety leader, a person who's going to be in charge of integrating all of these rules and regulations and translating it into something. Because if our hotel becomes a hospital, then let's forget about it. I mean, then that's not hospitality anymore. And then translate that into something that guests will enjoy. But everything we do has to make sense for everybody. You know, it has to make sense for our staff. It has to make sense for the guests. So I think, yeah.
Can I say something just
Absolutely.
Because Zoran, the message you're giving is so perfect, and I think what you said is so important for everybody to consider, that the communication and the marketing, and you know, yesterday before all this was, you know, excitement, and that has to be now shifted to security, and before it was passion, and now that has to be converted into trust. Because at the end of the day, before, the energy was on, come here and it's going to be incredible and it's the best, and you know, that was kind of the vibration. And right now the message has to convey, come, we'll take care of you, it's gonna be okay. And it's a very different vibration. So from saying this is gonna be just the best and Instagram pictures and stuff, you need to kind of give a hug and say, everything's gonna be okay, we're gonna take care of you. That's the key message. Of course, maybe you don't say it in those words, but the shift that you're talking about is exactly. What people
and you know, a lot of emotions we can get to them from both sides. So the satisfaction, you can derive satisfaction from a confidence that you're coming to a place that's trustworthy. Same like the satisfaction can be derived from acquiring new knowledges or new experiences. So right now we need to kind of level up to that satisfaction through this way, and then build on that. So I think
you definitely have to adjust. You can't use your whatever strategy you had before, which was perfect, needs to be adjusted. Please don't just grab the yesterday and throw it to tomorrow, because it's not the right tone.
Exactly. And for example, you know, like Nicolas said, and this is where we agree, I mean, at our property we're also having 10,000 square meters for, let's say, 80 guests or 60 guests. So we have this spaciousness, but you wouldn't promote that as one of your key features, because it was assumed, you know, the luxury of space. However, now perhaps it is important to remind people, wow, we have ability to create these islands, or however you want to call it, of spots where you can feel private. Exactly, where you can feel your own privacy and intimacy for different reasons than we would do it before. Before we would do it for completely different reasons. We are doing them again. Just now messaging it slightly differently.
And if I may, just quickly, I don't think we also need to reinvent the wheel of hospitality. I think this crisis has taught us to go to the basics of hospitality. And that's truly taking care of our customers. And that's always been the part of the DNA of Aman. And I think, unfortunately, in the crisis in the past, whether it be financial crises, a lot of general managers have stopped being hosts, and they've just been, Jack Eason has done many reports on this. One of the great reports he does is Ovation Travel Market reports on a yearly basis. He did mention that since the financial crisis, a lot of the general managers forgot to be hosts. Now is the time that this crisis, we really, truly take care of our guests, and that will instill trust for them to book again with us in all of our segments. So that's, I think, another key message to pass on in all of this that we're saying.
Very true, and that also applies to travel agencies, obviously, because that's why the circle closes. And talking about
sorry,
hosts,
Astrid, because I just wanted to add something, because it fits very well, because all of what you said is actually that now bringing hospitality back to the travel agent. It starts at the travel agent. We are the ones who are the interlink to the clients. So what you said, Nicolas, that it's actually the basis of hospitality, but as rather a tour operator, or an agent in the kind of broker moment. We have to be the first part of hospitality, and for that we need a much closer relationship, a much closer communication with all the hoteliers. That is exactly what Tina said at the beginning. She said, grab the phone, talk to people, ask what is the deal, what is really going on in the destination. Yeah. And this is the moment now where we all need to get closer, that we are the ones where hospitality starts, and then this moves on.
Absolutely. And talking about trust and authenticity, the Passionist is a virtuoso agency, so you're connected internationally very well. You're based in Cologne. I don't know, the majority of your clients is German speaking, but of course for virtuoso you do get good spin-off, but it's the German speaking market, and I would love to know, it's always interesting to see different nationalities, what makes these German speaking clients attractive to the international travel industry, and what does it require to attract these German speaking clients? We have talked about all these things. Does that go into the hearts of the German speaking traveler?
Definitely. Yeah. I think so. This is exactly what they need. Again, I have to relate to what Tina said at the beginning, because there is so many different types and characters out there. So in this moment, especially in the German-speaking market, we have probably one of the most diverse markets in Europe, because there is different mentalities, there's multi-layered communication levels, there's different habits. And in this moment, I mean, this market is looking for the right moment to be inspired, to move forward. And I think to be more niche, to be more nuanced, to get now inspired to travel on a different communication and care level. This is what the German-speaking market is ready for. And as I said before, I'm very, very sure that there's so many people, when they understand the connection, the link between us, the supplier, hotelier, DMC, whoever it is, as stronger it gets, as closer we are together, this resonates, this reflects our flagship relation, you know, so people will follow that, they will move with us, and there is a huge chance, especially in the German-speaking market, for now getting closer to all our partners out there, and to have even more trusted relationships and inspire people to travel.
Absolutely, and there's a question for Michael. Hi, Michael. I think it's a good one, because I see it differently. The question is, and the most important question, are the clients interested to travel? The fear of the pandemic is too big today. But how do you see that? I mean, that comes back to media. If you read the media, you probably just want to hide in somewhere. But I mean, how do you see that? I mean, I reflect colleagues of you, René, in the German-speaking markets. I speak to many of you guys, and the reflection is, yes, we do get bookings. People want to go. They really want to go. They're so ready to go. And I also hear that some that have shifted their holidays 2000 to 2021, they want to come back now and say, I do want to use my credit for 2020 with you, my postponement. How do you guys see that? I mean, there's a big role of the agencies. I think you guys are the leaders. You make your clients feel comfortable. You need to give them the trust and the hope, and you have a big job in front of you. But how do you experience that in your different worlds?
I can share a little bit of, we were talking, and I completely, again, it goes back to the phases of it's very hard to put the clients all in one basket and say, are they all ready to travel, right? I have seen, you know, as I said before, Latin America is very ready to travel. Valerie Wilson was on our last talk, and Astrid and I were commenting. She told the story that she went through her accounting. She was looking at her numbers, and she found a booking for $500,000, and she was immediately upset. She said, how can they make this mistake in the middle of this situation where accounting is, you know, more important than ever, that the numbers are right? So she called accounting, and it was actually correct. It was a client that booked out Necker Island exclusively. So, you know, there are bookings coming out there. We had a huge booking from Switzerland which was the biggest booking in, we work with Aqua Expeditions, the biggest booking in their history for a 12-day charter of Aqua Expeditions. It's amazing. It's a huge booking. So yes, people are ready. Not everybody. I think it's also to consider that those people, like many of us, that are adventurous and keen and are kind of fearless, will remain fearless. You know, we don't change. Absolutely. Our DNA doesn't change. Our origins and our emotions don't change. Those who tended to be a little bit more cautious will be a little bit more cautious, and we'll need, you know, especially the travel agents, to carry them. But one of the beautiful things is, regardless of where you are, if you're the fearless, if you're more cautious, it is very clear now more than ever that adventuring past your border without a travel agent, it's not, you know, a choice. It would be a stupid thing to do, because everybody that didn't travel with a travel agent got stuck and hated themselves for it. And so this is the best moment to be in travel, to be a travel agent, because you're more needed than ever, and you're the ones that are going to carry that and identify that moment of, you know, who is ready and where am I going to take you. And remembering, domestic is going to come first. So it's going to be a soft process. You know, it's not like tomorrow they're going to want to cross the universe or the globe, but they're going to come in slowly. And before I forget, René, I need to know, do you ship these jams? Can you get them to Brazil? I mean, this is a very important question. I can't let the panel finish.
Sure. You know, everything is always around, so don't worry, I can ship it, cool. So no problem.
Okay, guys, before we wrap up, because we're almost getting to this hour, I think we could speak forever. It's amazingly interesting. But I would love to know how do you see online versus travel agent nowadays, especially in the luxury segment. I think we all agree that luxury is gonna come back first. Luxury has, let's say, it's a great niche to be in, a great specialization. But how do you see online versus agency now? Because that's a big subject before, you know, let's book online, even if it's high end. How do you guys see that?
Yeah, maybe I can jump in a bit.
Yeah.
So, you know, so here right now we have two concerns, right? One is financial, one is health. As we are talking about the luxury segment, we are not so much focused on the financial. So for people, a lot of decisions will be driven by the health aspect. And I'm not talking here only about whether people are afraid of the coronavirus. You know, they might be looking at what is the level of the national health systems to the countries where they are going at. Because if something happens, they want to know that something else happened that they can be taken care of. So, and online travel agencies don't really offer this information. I mean, you just can't pick up a phone at 2 a.m. and call your online travel agent and ask for a recommendation for the local doctor that can quickly give you an answer of how to find a proper hospital or give you an advice or things like that. And then this is actually, I agree, a perfect opportunity for the travel agents, travel designers, travel consultants to come back and say, guys, we were actually here the whole time. We kind of survived. You know, everybody was promising we're going to disappear like the newspapers. But like the newspapers, we are still here. People are still reading the regular newspapers. People are still going to be looking for a travel agent, because that's a personal relationship. That's very, very strong. And this is the whole message of this whole talk. I mean, we had 300 people here today. Why? Because they want to hear a personal message. You know, they want to hear what it is that Nicolas has to say, what it is that Tina has to say, what it is that René has to say. I mean, they even came up to see what I have to say, for God's sake. You know, and it's
right.
You know, and that's very personal. You know, and they want to connect to each other and to us, and to say like, yeah, I want to work with these people. You know, I feel confident, and there is something to it, and it's not just I'm 100% sure that. We have, and us as hoteliers, we have to direct the business again to travel agents. And I think to send the message to the guests, yeah, I mean, they are actually a very important chain or part of the chain that connects us all.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, we are coming to an end. We're in Germany, so we have 7 minutes left. No, I know it's because, you know, people are sitting there with their gin tonics already, etc. I know for many of our Loop Face that have been here for the beginning, they have really written to me and say, you know, 5 o'clock Tuesday is a must. Every single week, I have prepared my wine. I'm sitting at the balcony. This is and that's so lovely. I thought, my God, this is the highlight of the week, because they, you know, they get these vibes that we have, and we're living it. I mean, we mean it, and that's really amazing. So for the last round, I would love to that every one of you just, you know, kind of like gives a last message to our people out there, to our listeners. Something you want to tell them, something you took away from Corona, from the virus, from something positive, obviously, and that you want to share with the community. That would be lovely. René, do you want to start?
Yes, because there's one major message, and this is the trust that we can share, and actually the passion to be a team. This is what we got out of Corona. This is what I got out of not only this panel, of listening to you, seeing everyone around, and to say, to be a team, whatever you have in mind, no online, no digital, whatever thing can ever take this away. And to go through this, to connect as one community with our clients. I get super emotional with this, and this is not my stage background. This is authenticity and pure. It's the only way of how we can move forward. Keep this passion, go forward. I can throw this lemon on everyone and say, just stay there. We are in this, and I kept this with my team every day, and that makes us strong. So let's go out there and rock this together.
Perfect. Tina, what about you?
I couldn't agree more with René. I'm going to actually take a little tangent, and I'll tell you what was my biggest takeaway from all this. And it's a request for all hoteliers and travel agents. I think one of the things that Corona has done was to make us realize the importance of social responsibility and helping each other and how much we're connected. And there is a conversation that I'm not going to get into because it's a very long one about pricing, and if people are going to get into discounting and all this. And so as hoteliers, you're looking at your pricing for reopening. Please, instead of discounting whatever amount you have, give a percentage of that discount, allocate it to helping a community in your neighborhood, buying food for somebody that needs it. Because at the end of the day, what's going to come out of this is that travelers are going to be more keen to buy and to be proud of their trip if they can say, I don't feel bad about traveling, because there's so many people that are going to be unemployed and so many people that are suffering through all this. They're going to be proud to say, by traveling, I am supporting somebody, I am helping, I'm feeding, I'm giving back. And so the hoteliers who drive this will be the hoteliers of the future. And it's also about the travel agents demanding hotels to do that and keeping them saying, you've done, if you have donated to a community, show me, let me be part of that. Don't make it a marketing pitch. If you're going to discount 5%, 2% goes to the community, 10%, 5%, because at the end of the day, the traveler in the luxury market is not only going to look at pricing. Pricing is nice because we have a genuine need to take advantage. They're like, wow, what's in it for me? That's just a human mess up. But at the end of the day, if somebody thinks, great, I get a little bit of something, but I can be part of giving back, this is the time. If you don't have a social responsibility project, build one, create it, put it in your strategy, and let's make tomorrow better than yesterday. Please.
Absolutely. Just to go back, sorry to interrupt, Tina. Very interestingly enough, we had a call with the Amanpuri team, and that's exactly what I mentioned. Was that to ensure we're talking about the festive season, and the festive season and the New Year's Eve is quite a spectacular affair in Amanpuri. And one of the key things I wanted to mention to the team is that we must contribute. We cannot have an event, such an extravagant, big event in Amanpuri, and not give back something to the community. And I think that's a very important message, because there's a lot of people suffering out there, and we're in this really prestigious positioning of a luxury field, and we know the luxury market is the first market that will rebound in all of this. And if we're not conveying a message that we also are a contributor to the local community, I think we'll be in deep trouble. So I completely agree with what you have to say, Tina, and well said on that.
Absolutely. Zoran, last one.
I'm so happy that actually everybody is using the same word, you know, travelers. We all accepted, I guess, for years that people are not anymore tourists, or they are travelers. And I'm happy because actually travel, I truly believe that travel makes us better people. You know, it makes us better in terms of a sense of gratitude, sense of generosity. And, you know, if the travel has stopped for 2 months now, you know, it stopped so that we can heal ourselves from the pandemics that we are in. And right now, I think as we kind of restarted, we need to allow the travel again to heal us from the time that we spent locked in. So, you know, I would like the travel to be our next healing process.
That's a wonderful final word. We got so many questions. We just can't take them all, but we will go into every single question. And if it's for you guys, we will share it so that you could please get back to this wonderful people in the audience. I want to say big thank you to you. For doing this with me. I want to say thank you to all the loopers out there. You guys are amazing. It gives me goosebumps. It's just absolutely emotional. It's almost like we're together. No, it's not like, but we're getting there. We're on the way. I can smell it coming. I can feel it coming, and it's just an amazing community. Next week, I'm just going to give you a little insight. We're going to have Giovanni from Cambodoy from Mallorca joining in. So let's see what's happening in Mallorca. Is opening his hotel June 15. We have a beautiful Jessica, the owner of Hogan Cruises from Ecuador, Galapagos, because we want to also always go into the long haul, and she has a very private, unique product. We're going to welcome Gerhard and Gabriel from Atelier Voyage in Munich, which is going to be fun. And we have also an insight into the Maldives, because we have the most established luxury DMC from Maldives, Hummingbird Travel. The owners lived there since they're 10 years, and they are there over 30 years. There's no other specialist for Maldives than they are. And also very individual. So we're looking forward to next week, Tuesday, 5 o'clock. What can I say? Thank you guys. It was amazing. We love you all. We love you, loopers. We are looking forward to going to this together.
Thank you.
And this is not a saying, we all mean it. Let's just do it. And if you need anything, we are here for you. Okay? Have a wonderful evening. Ciao.
Astrid, thank you. You're the
Thank
best.
Thank you, Astrid.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Astrid.
everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.